Yeah, thanks everyone for hopping on. So this week we'll be talking about the DIGG rebase options. So DIGG rebase options, if any of you were in the clubhouse last week, kind of covered it there, but it really came out of the stability vault. So obviously DIGG's been through a long, hard road since launch, and when it launched, we didn't have a lot of stability mechanics already built out. It was kind of like, all right, let's launch, we'll figure it out. We had the idea for Stability Vault, but not the specifics. And we've covered the Stability Vault in a previous office hour, so I won't go into too much detail there. But, basically it took us a while to nail down the exact mechanics that we wanted to use. Because in open DeFi systems, anything where you're saying, I'm going to do X, Y, Z at Y time, at A, B, or C time, it's very difficult to do it efficiently, and you're kind of putting a target on your back. So you need to be smart if you're going to say, I'm going to buy this amount of this at this time, so you don't get like front run or sandwich attacked or what have you. So we had a lot of feedback about, okay, what exactly is the best way to use a vault? Because our stance was like, okay, we want to use economic, kind of more standard economic tools to find stability for DIGG. So the idea with the vault was like, let's kind of basically build a crowdsourced whale that would be the most rational economic actor interacting with DIGG, that's acting in a kind of supportive manner. So we worked on that internally, and then we ended up working with the Stabilize team to solidify the details of the Stability Vault, which should be launching in the next week or two. I guess we'll give you a quick update on that. We have gotten the audit results back from QuantStamp, and they were all pretty good. Just some general kind of run-of-the-mill stuff for more documentation, a few concerns that were pretty easy to address. So that's been turned around for getting re-reviewed. So hopefully that'll be ready to go in the next couple weeks, and we'll start that with a gated launch as we're doing with some of these other vaults. So, it's a new experimental vault. We don't want to have people just putting $100 million into it out of the gate. So let's, we'll slowly increase that cap, and then hopefully it'll slowly have more impact on DIGG. But when looking at it, the issue was the way that the vault works is when DIGG is above peg, but the price is falling. So that means from rebase to rebase, is the price lower, but is it still above Bitcoin? In those situations, when there's a positive rebase, it'll take a portion of the positive rebase for all the assets in the vault, and it'll sell that for Bitcoin, and then it'll stock it away. So you're building up this Bitcoin balance when it's above peg. Issue is if we're going to launch it and DIGG is below peg, then there's no Bitcoin in that. And we're thinking through ways we could, seed it with Bitcoin from the treasury or something like that. But it was all nothing was like a great answer. So, and obviously, we want to kind of align this in a way to give DIGG the best chance of success possible anyway. So we're thinking, all right, well, the best situation to launch this vault is to have DIGG be above peg. So how do you get DIGG above peg using just general economic tools? We thought through a couple different options, and we did the meme, the Diamond Hands game couple like almost a month ago at this point, which was kind of like a leveraged airdrop in that I think people perceive the value of the NFTs and the value of their ability to claim the value of the pool higher than probably what was like the dollar value, and then we're able to buy into DIGG to compete to get the NFTs, and that drove DIGG above peg for a couple days. But for this, we need DIGG to be above peg for a while to be successful. So that, while that was a fun thing, and it's still running, and I think it'll pick back up if and when this is successful, what we really needed is a mechanism for some sustaining DIGG above peg. And to do that, we recognize that we'll need to use a fair amount of assets. And if we're going to use a lot of assets, we want to be confident in how we're using them, that they're going to have the appropriate effect. So we talked through a few different options, and then I think it was we've been working closely with UMA for a while on the Clause launch, and then they have released some other products over the past couple of months, one of which was the KPI options for the TVL in UMA. So I think pretty much everyone that has used Badger has access to claim UMA TVL options that basically track. I don't know what the expiration date is on them. I think it's like a year out or a couple months. Well, basically what it means is that they create a price feed that is basically their TVL. So maybe they have 1 billion locked, 2 billion locked, a couple hundred million. I don't know actually how much is in UMA right now, but let's say the options are set for 2 billion. The price feed for those options says that the price of them is the current TVL relative to 2 billion times whatever the UMA pool is. So the UMA redemption pool, I don't know how much they put in there. Let's say it's like 1 million UMA. If at the end date of the options, the TVL is at 1 billion, then the total supply of those options is redeemable for 500,000 UMA, half the million UMA in the pool. And then as an options holder, how much you can redeem is your relative portion of that. So it's just like redeeming an asset in any other pool. But as the TVL goes up and down over time, it's the perceived redemption value kind of adjusts as well. So that is a very kind of compelling thing that they're doing, in that, okay, we can try to align people economically to our specific goals, which is get more TVL and UMA, by airdropping them these options. And then we can only pay for that, actions if successful. So, you're not just saying, oh, we're going to give people 1 million UMA over the next 6 months to deposit into UMA, because you don't know if it's going to be sticky, you don't know if it's going to be the right, you don't know if it'll actually work, yada, yada, yada. So doing it with the options is a compelling way to do it, and you could structure this off chain, but I think it's a more compelling thing to traders, to users, to do it on chain. So, we were talking through options, and, I just kind of was thinking, all right, well, what can we do that's sticky? And I, had been reading about UMA. So, all right, well, maybe we can try rebase options, because with the cool thing with the UMA protocol is you can create a price feed for literally whatever you want, on chain, off chain, etc. And the price doesn't even it's not like a price feed as you think, like a Chainlink price feed or anything like that, because UMA for the options, you only need to know the price of the thing at expiry or at maturity. And the way that UMA works is kind of like a tell me I'm wrong activity. So if people are redeeming their options and the wrong amount is being given by the pool, then the keepers can report or can claim that it's incorrect, and then the way that the pool's paying out will be but people request the keepers fulfill it, and then if the keeper that fulfilled it is incorrect, then they can be challenged by other keepers or the UMA holders or things like that, and they'll get burned or slashed, or that they have to post some sort of bond when they're servicing these things. So it makes it pretty easy, where it doesn't have to be maintained all the time. It just really kind of happens at maturity. So you can actually make pretty interesting pricing scenarios. So for the DIGG rebase options, we thought through a couple things. We thought through consecutive rebases. We thought could be interesting, but what we thought would make the maximal impact is just think, like, what if we could have a whole month of like 30 days of positive rebases? How much would we put into that? And I need to put out the BIP to get the funds to fund the redemption pool. But we're thinking, all right, well, what would be worth it for 100 DIGG? So it's not an insignificant amount of money. It's like $50 million. Yeah, $50 million. No, $5 million. Yeah, sorry, that's a significant difference. So, and the thing is, that's $5 million now, but if we do get 30 positive rebases, that'll go up 2.5x probably, at least, through positive rebases and also just the price having appreciated, assuming Bitcoin stays around 50 or 50 to 60. So thinking about that and saying, okay, well, now we can have this large pool, we can then say, well, all right, we'll say we want there to be at least some positive rebases to get going, and then we want to incentivize people a lot for us to kind of max it out. So the way we settled in the structure is that if there are less than 5 rebases during the time of the options, so the options will be dropped. We're currently targeting May 7th, and then they'll mature on June 7th. If during that time there is greater than or less than 5 positive rebases, the options will expire or worthless. We'll airdrop them to everybody. You'll be able to claim them in the app. But if there's less than 5 positive rebases during that time period, they'll be worthless. There's no way to claim them. And then after that, for every positive rebase, they're redeemable for more dig from the pool. So we thought about going consecutive rebases, but the problem with that is we didn't want to end up in a situation where we got like 12 positive rebases, but there were only 10 days left in the time period. So there's no incentive for anyone to try to keep buying up dig to keep it up above the peg. So we decided to go with just total rebases. But in lieu of that, we applied a power to the redemptions so that the difference between the percentage of the pool that you get between the 5th and 6th rebase is much smaller than the increase in the percentage of the pool that you get from the 15th to 16th rebase. So let's see, I guess I could share my screen a little bit to illustrate. John, I forget which one exactly which day we went. It'll be a month, a full month in length. We still have a few things we have to sort out exactly. We have to get the ducks in the row with UMA. So it'll be the 6th or the 7th is the target. It is not 100% set in stone. It will be as early as we can do it. We want to also align to make sure that the stability vault is at least out, and we want to have it uncapped. We don't want to go much. I think maximum we would want to be like 1 week into the dig options time period for removing the cap from the stability vault. So if we need it live and we feel like we need a week or two to have it be capped before fully removing the cap, and things might move. So you just want to be clear, the dates are all, as you've seen with most of our launches, and for people that have worked in software before, dates are often flexible, especially in this space. There's a lot of dependencies. All right, people can see the screen. Parameters that go into it is the minimum number of rebases, the max number of rebases, just like the days that are in the program, and then the power that we're applying to it. So you can see here how many rebases there are, what are the price of the options at those rebases, and this is just price, as given as a percent. It'll just be, we have 100 dig and 100 B dig or whatever in there. It would just be this times 100 for that. What each option costs, and we haven't settled on what the total supply of the options is. It doesn't matter. All that will matter is your portion of that, how much you get. So you see here, if there's only 6 positive rebases, we're paying out less than 1% of the pool. So not a very small amount. But as you can see, as each positive rebase goes by, this is the increase in the percentage of the pool for each positive rebase. So this goes up, that went up 0.8%. This was going up So this is the increase. So instead of 1.8, went up 1.4. And you can see as it goes on, the incentive for, that next positive rebase gets higher and higher. And it tails out a little bit towards the end, but, I think having this increase here where, the increase is, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5% change in the redemption value per day per positive rebase, hoping that's enough to kind of spur on those that have the means to help support DIGG to continue to do so. So yeah, that's the general structure for how the things work. Cool. Yeah, so airdrop criteria, similar thought process. We want to obviously reward the people that have been supporting DIGG this whole time. So with that, we are going to be airdropping these to DIGG and BDIGG holders and DIGG LP stakers based on a snapshot that was taken right before the announcement. We're going to apply a route to that, and the exact route will work out. We want to make it so it's like an average lower amount holder still gets something that's worthwhile to claim. So we'll kind of base it on that to route the rewards. Moonman, what day was the snapshot? Honestly, I forget. It was right before the announcement. We'll pull from. I think it was in the post. John, no, the airdrop will be in the DIGG options. So everyone's getting DIGG options. So they'll start off being worthless, but the more positive rebases that happen during the month, let's say it's, May 6th to June 6th, the more positive rebases that happen during that time frame, the larger those options will be, the more those options will be redeemable for in DIGG or BDIGG probably. So where was it? Yeah, so we included the BDIGG holders and DIGG LP stakers, and using a route to apply to that. And then anyone, and then what we're doing is going to be doing another snapshot right before the options launch for the same groups, and then doing that linearly with the idea that hopefully inspiring larger holders to buy in big, during this time frame between the announcement and the launch. So yeah, so I think that's the the general. And we couldn't do. It's harder to do root at that point because then there's a Sybil attack approach to it. It's easier to do root when people don't know you're taking the snapshot. And also this is call it what it is. Like, we want everyone to get value out of this, but we're trying to direct the actions of whales, right? The average holder isn't going to be able to hold DIGG above peg. And force more positive rebases. We need whales to want to participate in the game, and then the idea is everyone, they'll benefit the most by gross value, but everyone, hopefully the more average holders benefit more proportionally, given that you should the root gives you a higher amount of options relative to your position in the beginning. All right, I'll touch on a couple questions here. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you, for the nice words. Asking about bad actors getting to, as it currently is structured, does this incentivize whales and other LPs to remove their DIGG LP so as to thin out the market to make the DIGG easier to manipulate upwards? It's an interesting angle. It wouldn't be probably a terrible move on their part, which I'd be honestly fine with. I wouldn't necessarily think of that as a bad actor move. It would be, it could be in their benefit if they're a large LP provider to do that, and then it gives them more control, I guess, as the rebasing time is approaching to make that move. But you got to do it sustainably. It also means if people sell into it, the liquidity is gone on that side as well. That would be an interesting approach if you're a whale to before the rebate, if you're controlling a decent amount of the DIGG LP before. Right before it rebases, the rebase time, remove the LP, buy DIGG, which drives the price up, positive rebase, and then add the LP back. That could be interesting. I don't know if anyone's gonna take that approach. As long as it's DIGG positive rebases, we don't care. And we don't want people gaming the thing too much, but that's the stuff you have to think about, and that's a good thought experiment, and it's an interesting strategy. John asked, how do we determine how much DIGG options someone gets? So it'll be based on your holdings, and I think it was in the post, 30% of the options will be dropped based on the snapshot on April 21st. Thank you, Iseth, for confirming that. And that'll be done based on a route. So hopefully, that helps. I think that helps mostly middle of the pack stakers. And then the second snapshot will be taken right before launch, and that'll be distributed linearly based on holdings as well. And we're including Binance Smart Chain positions in that as well. So it'll be driven totally based on holdings, and we're just giving it to DIGG holders, and then also NFT holders. So anyone holding the Diamond's Hands NFTs, anyone holding any Badger NFTs, the Jersey, and the first Honeypot game NFTs. So I think there's 9 total NFTs that are valid. So those will get 5%, and then we are keeping another 5% to distribute. We're going to kind of kick the game off, and then we have another 5% that we can use to incentivize other things we've looked at. People have ideas, more than happy to hear it. And, we can always distribute them at the end if we don't find a good use for them proportionally, or to give it back to DIGG holders or whatever. So the other some things we've had is ideas on is like we could use it to incentivize the bridge, the Badger bridge, or I think that was one of the main things that popped up. Or if we have any other vaults that are launching, or we could give it to the stability vault depositors as a added incentive, things like that. So we, I think we were recognizing that, but we wanted to get the proposal out there, but didn't have the distribution stuff like 1000% nailed down exactly how we wanted to do it. So that 5% gave us a little wiggle room. Are the NFTs weighted or equal value in relation to distribution of options? Yeah, so they'll be, I've got kind of like a simple weighting formula that work on getting approval from the team on, and I guess we'll probably run it by. I'm not sure how we'll get more approval on it, but it'll be weighted based on rarity. Kind of, it's not as, I don't think it'll be as complex as the model we use for the DIGG airdrop. But I'm kind of I worked on a general purpose model for basically figuring out the weights of NFTs. So let me actually, let's see. Actually, I actually have we can touch on it a little bit here. Why not? So this is not approved by anything. It isn't even like officially proposed. But hey, we're here. Let's get a little, I would like to get some feedback. Please don't you can screenshot it for your own benefit, but don't go tweet about it and say this is what we're doing or whatever. This is just kind of anything that gets decided will be decided on. The way I kind of think about the NFTs is partially how close are they to Badger, right? So are we going to include any NFTs in what we're doing, period? And how close things are to Badger can kind of be determined as, are we getting any of the fees from them being transacted? So the only one that's a full Badger NFT is the Jersey NFT. So we launched our own ERC 1155 contract. We minted the Jersey NFT out of that. We get all of the shared transaction fees on that. And then we've done the two other things with Meme. The Honeypot one, we don't get any portion of that, but the Diamond's Hand, we're sharing in the fees for that. So we'll do a quick little. So basically just worked out a general model here where it's based off of rarity, and then if it's a partner, a collaboration, or a Badger NFT. So and then gave each one of those a score, and then that score is taken into account, where we're basically just doing the square root of the rarity to the power of this value, and give it basically just kind of backing my way into something that we think kind of makes sense. We wanted the Jersey to be high because it was a Badger NFT directly, but we also want to make sure we were understanding that these super rare ones count. So looking at something like this, we're saying that, okay, these honeypot ones, that there are 500 of them would get you a score of 44 for holding one, and then that would be worth less than half of this one, or almost 1/10 of the more rare ones, and a little bit more than 1/10, a little less than 1/10 of the Jersey. I don't know, that kind of seems to make sense. Open to people's opinions on that. This is, like I said, this is not set in stone. This might just be something that we kind of generally use as a start. And this would be kind of the model we're thinking of for how NFTs are going to play into Badger Boost as well. For there'll be some sort of whether it might just be some sort of max boost based on NFTs or something like that. But you have to start by saying, okay, how much is one NFT worth versus the others? And you can tweak this, and things change a little bit. So not set in stone, but that's kind of what we're thinking about the NFTs. So long story short, Jersey NFT is probably going to be a higher value one, and then based on rarity, with the Diamond Hand ones probably coming in at a higher relative value than Honeypot, which I think makes sense for this game as well. And then we'll see where we go with NFTs down the line. I think we'll probably be doing more stuff out of our own contract. So we'll go from there. Cool. Yeah, I guess Marco had a question, but I guess before we get off of that, any other questions about the DIGG, the rebase options, how they function, distribution, et cetera, et cetera? The options have to be redeemed at expiration. Yes, I believe so, but I will confirm, actually. I'll confirm with that. And then we are creating there will be a UI for it. It might not be ready right at launch, but we'll have something like a dashboard, kind of like the Diamond Hands game, where you will be able to see, the current value of an option, how many rebases there are, things like that. So we want to be able to kind of game things a little bit. Probably have to talk to Will on our tweet strategy to get people fired up on it. So hopefully we got to make some noise around it.
Yeah, we're cooking. I'll just pop in. We're cooking up some stuff on the community level as well with some really smart folks who are doing a little bit of content creation and some dashboards of their own. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we'll definitely figure out something on our end as well.
Yeah. So I guess, John, your question, are the options automatically deposited? So yeah, we're going to airdrop the options and you don't need to claim them. And I would actually say definitely don't go claim them. They'll come through the Badger tree just like everything else. Wait until they're actually worth something. And there won't be any fault in not claiming them. We're not going to claw them back or anything. So wait. And then I do believe that the process will be claiming and then redeeming when ready, when they mature. So what we'll have to figure out though is, there'll be some sort of claim period. And ideally, there's going to be a pool of assets that are going to be claimable. And I should talk to my people about how this works to see if we want to have a claim window where say, okay, well, you have, well, not a claim window, like a redemption window where, you have, 2 or 3 months to, redeem your options post expiry, at which point they become worthless, and then we can claim back the DIGG that's in that pool, because we don't want to just leave it in there. Yeah. So yeah, no, the day of options drop, there's literally just don't do anything other than buy DIGG, obviously. If you want to participate in helping get it above peg, but no, yeah, there's not a super benefit in claiming it. And we actually have a pretty sweet new multi-claim, and this is the other thing. So we actually have a new UI coming for claiming assets, since now it's more common to have multiple assets that you'll be able to claim. And you can actually choose what you want to claim at any time. So even if you want to claim your Badger and DIGG, but you don't want to claim your DIGG options for right now, even because that does add a little extra gas, even though you're doing it all as one transaction, you can actually zero that out and only claim the assets that you want to claim. But yeah, we'll confirm the exact actions needed to redeem. Cool. All right. Well, I guess if anyone has any other DIGG questions, I'll touch on. I guess I'll start cranking through some of the non-DIGG ones. Marco Crypto asked, can you discuss the implementation timeline for Badger Boost? It's very close. I know that soon. Is that good? The geyser removal is actually, I believe, that is done and just waiting to be flipped on. So that'll basically put everyone at a static multiplier for where they are now. And then from there, we will be, once the geysers are removed, then we will be able to implement the boost. And I believe it's pretty much done technically. We're also working on the front end for it. So you'll be able to see where you rank in the boost and what your multiplier is. But that still needs a little bit. So I would say hopefully Badger Boost is implemented in the next 2 weeks. I think geyser removal, if not this week, early next week. And then hopefully Badger Boost is not far behind that. The peg-based rewards, because DIGG has been under peg for so long, we've been giving all DIGG rewards to DIGG holders. We're going to kind of put a pin in that because about the stability vault coming and some other stuff coming. And we're just kind of keeping DIGG rewards focused on the DIGG vaults. So there's not much point in doing that. That's going to be kind of put on the back burner and reevaluated. If we feel like it'll be a valid, stability mechanism going forward, we can implement it. But yeah, Badger Boost is the highest priority after that. Drew asked, clause was the second highest voted topic this week. Any news you can share with us on the topic? So where we kind of fallen with clause is I think we want to make sure that when we launch it, at the time that that version of it expires, it's either ready to go or close to being ready to go, the perpetual clause. So the option from UMA for one that doesn't expire. So there's a bit of a dependency on that with UMA as well. So I don't know, and we're not in a huge rush to push it out. I think it's definitely like a good initiative, and it's going to be a good tool to have. But especially the short-term version, it's not a big needle mover for the average user because it's going to take a lot of gas to mint. And then you're only going to be able to use it for a while. And we're going to be using some incentives to make it liquid and yada, yada, yada. And it'll be more of we want to make sure that if we're doing that there's some carryover benefit from doing it. So yeah, not a clear answer. So no, we're not waiting for them to have it launched, but I think we're waiting for them to have it pretty much ready to launch. So that when we finish up, when clause finishes up its month, we can kind of try to roll into the perp. And also we can kind of coordinate the strategy for it. Yeah. So ideally we'll launch it, 1 month or closer to the perpetuals being ready for production. So then I don't know what UMA's plan is on it specifically, if they're going to have other people launching if they're going to do some, limited launch, or if they've got other people teed up to do it. There's a lot going on. So yeah, Chris is a little closer to the UMA folks. I've been talking to him a lot about the DIGG thing, but I'm not in those conversations specifically. Cool. Well, yeah, I guess you answered in the chat, but I guess the one question around the marketing strategy, I guess you want to touch on that real quick. I think you mentioned a little bit before, but if there's anything else you want to dig into, or maybe any asks for the folks here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a community effort around this, but with the 30 days in that, it's really just going to be about focusing on the data and really sharing the positive results as they happen, and sort of integrating calls to action if we can in some ways, but really just organizing the data will be kind of our key to success here. So yeah, we have some stuff in the works, but it's open to anybody who's interested in sharing some stuff or has some thoughts around content or stuff like that. Feel free to reach out to me, or just drop into the marketing channel on Discord.
Sweet, thanks. Marco asks about the Yearn Vault. Yeah, and talk about Badger Boost and price appreciation to Badger, bringing value. Hopefully this helps with DIGG, and then we have a lot that we're thinking about and working on building out in the background for not just Badger Boost, but then how to make Badger staking more of a real thing that kind of shares in the value that the apps and the vaults and everything are generating. And a lot of this, the background stuff is we're onboarding a lot more people and developers onto the team, and the wider team of general contributors as well, not even just the long-term crew. So a lot of this has been getting people in and ramped up to start executing on some of the stuff. And there's going to be, I think you'll see, Marco, in the next month or two, a lot more stuff coming out about the plan and the plan isn't set right now. It's working through the plan. We try to get stuff out to the community pretty quick as we're as we think something is a good idea, get it out there. It's not like there's grand plans that we're honing and then share. But about how to more closely tie Badger the asset with Badger the app, and the protocol and all the things. You asked about the Yearn Vault. How do we make sure that the rates stay high now that it's public? So the underlying APY should be fairly scalable, because Curve is fairly scalable, as is Compound, which is where a lot of these rates are coming from. So I think the expectation is that it should retain 15% plus or higher, well into $1 billion of deposits. We'll see. It also, just so people know, as deposits start flowing in the front end APY is going to be fudged because the way that these things work is it's not like you deposit your WBTC and then it's immediately distributed across 6 different strategies on the back end. There's timing components for this, for when the assets are like deployed and harvested and yada, yada, yada. So like if there's a big uptick in deposits, they won't be immediately deployed. They'll be deployed over time. So during those time frames, the yield will still be on the smaller amount, but the deposits will be larger. So the net yield won't be great. The API won't be great, but it will be. So it's, there's timing, and it's a matter of days, not weeks or anything like that, hours or days. So we're working on how to like show that. I think it's largely going to be kind of either having like a lagging APY or something be kind of static for this transition period until when it's totally uncapped. There shouldn't be massive shocks in the deposit. So like it'll be, it should be pretty standard. We should be able to display things pretty normally and it should be reasonable. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, talking to Urine and understanding the strategies behind it, they should scale pretty well up to a large amount of deposits. So we're optimistic. The 100% won't stay, obviously, because the 100% was driven by the Badger rewards, and we're going to even be, there was a short-term boost on that, which is and we'll continue to do that for more experimental vaults that we have coming out. So we're very excited about starting the more vaults that we have coming, and we have some more people working on some vaults, which we're pretty pumped to do. And there'll be some boosts on those as well. And that'll be kind of the model. Like we'll have it be uncapped. You get a little extra boost in the emissions, and we'll go from there. And that'll be kind of like our general vault rollout model to reward those that are taking the risk of being in a more experimental vault. And then we'll still use the Badger score based lists to hopefully give average users the ability to deposit. Asks about plans discussing how to leverage Uniswap v3. Yes, very much so. Got at least one very active Uni v3 advocate on the core team. I'm of the mind of let's let it launch and see exactly how it's actually functioning to start. But I think there's 2 areas that we've been looking into it. One, I think it can do a lot for DIGG stability, because it's basically like being able to launch your own curve pool, right? If you just keep the LP range tight, I think we could do something where we start with a wider range and incentivize that, and then you incentivize ever tighter ranges around DIGG and Bitcoin. And what that does is just creates much deeper liquidity per dollar deposited around the peg. So I think that's one area that we're definitely looking into and very interested in exploring once it's available. And then there are some thoughts on how to actually use it for treasury management, which is kind of interesting as well. So having the treasury be a bit more active in providing liquidity, but also using it as a way to kind of have our positions be managed, because we have there's different assets that we own and that we all have in the treasury, and we got to figure out, okay, how are we managing that so we're being smart about using them. Last question. Yeah, no problem, Mark. Yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for joining. I love getting questions from the community. I am not super active in the general chat. I try to pop in here and there, but it's hard to kind of get the signal from the noise there. So I think this has always been a good signal. Any Polygon plans? Yeah, totally. We've been talking to them for a long time, even right around the time that we launched the Binance Smart Chain vaults. But what we found out when we launched the Binance Smart Chain vaults was that the LP vaults themselves, like standalone, just don't really move the needle that much for Badger, because if you're just a user and you're looking at, okay, I'm going to go to Pancake and I have my B Badger WBTC pair, I can do that and I can stake it and I can earn cake, and I earn it at Y%. Or I can use the Badger Vault that does the exact same thing, but it's Y% minus the 20% performance fee. So you're looking at it like, oh, I'm not earning Badger on it necessarily. I get some benefit from doing auto reinvesting, but maybe I'll just put my assets in the, I'll stake it myself. So like, there's two sides to it for how, what benefit if you want to get cake versus if you want it all redeposited in the LP. But what we found is that, okay, that wasn't, there wasn't like sticky value there. And then other, projects launched that were kind of like, they would do the same thing, but then they'd spray their token all over it. Something Beefy was making, you could get an extra like 200% APY if you like went over to Beefy or something like that. So we'd initially talked to Polygon about doing a similar thing over there with LP vaults, but then kind of pulled back from that a little bit. But I think, the move that we're looking at for, going forward is actually going to be hinged around IBBTC. So the interest-bearing Bitcoin, which should be getting released early, I think it was supposed to be this week, if not early next week, getting that out and in the hands of folks where it'll basically be, it's an aggregate of all the vault assets. I think once we, get the WBTC vault uncapped, and then we can add that as an input into IBBTC, then we have basically this asset where if we can create demand for it on other chains, people hold it on other chains, but all that asset represents TVL and Badger, which we are getting performance fees on. We'll get deposit withdrawal fees. And then I think once we do that, our first step on a lot of these chains is just going to say, hey, can you incentivize a pool with IBBTC paired with some other Bitcoin equivalent? And then that'll provide a place for people to go get high APY. We don't even need to deploy vaults over there. And that's like step one. But I'll tell you that we also have people working on Polygon vaults. I've been beating the drum about leveraged Aave vaults right now that just like farm-matic. There's like the base strategy for the Yearn WBTC is just like a leveraged compound strategy that just like puts in WBTC, borrows. It's borrow WBTC and redeposits. I think it's like recursive or borrows dollars and then puts it back in, but it farms comp at like a leveraged rate. And I think we can do the same thing with Aave. So I definitely want to get that out there. But I think what we're going to do now is focus more on like, okay, we'll let Uniforks just incentivize our pairs, and we don't necessarily need to have LP vaults. But then that gets users over there, and then if there's good opportunities to build vaults that do something more novel, then we can do that. But yeah, that's the goal. I've been using Polygon a little bit. It's definitely a better place to play for people with less, that don't want to spend $100 to do that. Moonman, which vaults will be able to mint IBBTC? All of the current Bitcoin denominated ones that we have now, so all the curve vaults. And then eventually the WBTC Yearn vault. Then I think we're going to hopefully, I've been advocating for, I think a lot of people pushing for doing a similar thing to the WBTC with RenBTC to have a multi-strategy RenBTC vault, and look at that probably added in there too long term. But yeah, the goal is to make IBBTC very available for anyone that just wants to buy and hold it, and very liquid. So anyone can get access to it and not have to pay, because it's going to be another one of those things where it's going to, if you have Bitcoin and you want to get IBBTC, but through minting it, it's going to cost you a couple $100 to deposit into a Curve vault and take that mint IBBTC, then get, you got to take it to Badger first and then put that in IBBTC. So it's like, 3 or 4 things you got to do. So the goal is to make it very, increase demand for it. So have places where you can earn yield with it, where you can use it as collateral. And make it available on these other chains, and try to make it like the base Bitcoin that you hold when you're on Polygon, for example. Like I'm on Polygon, I want to have Bitcoin exposure. I'm going to hold IBBTC because it's like the most liquid. Like let's do that. That increases demand for it. If there's demand over there, it'll probably start trading at a little bit of a premium. And then that incentivizes the whales to come and mint more and then sell into, the premium on Matic to kind of like normalize the price. And like, that's very natural. That's how ETFs and all these other, that's how GBTC works. It's kind of like natural market momentum, but like ideally everyone gets a little bit of a benefit. People that, don't have, non-whales can, you pay a little bit of premium. Maybe you're paying 1 or 2% more than it's worth on Polygon to buy it, but you're not spending 10% of your stack minting it. So yeah, that's kind of how we think about it. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for hopping on. I think we're running up against the time here. Really enjoyed this one and all the questions. I feel like we've got a pretty good cadence and balance with these things. So I guess, yeah, Will, anything you want to touch on? I think otherwise just keep an eye out for, we'll hit the I guess we post on what, Mondays, Tuesdays?
Yeah, Tuesdays in a couple of weeks. Yep, we'll be back. I think this was a super productive session, this one. I'm glad this topic got selected timing wise. So yeah, stay tuned for some more comms around everything. And yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, and if anyone has, suggestions for topics, I mean, we'll just usually pings me and like, hey, we want to do these topics, and I'll say, okay, sure, like add this one or swap out this one or whatever. But if anyone wants anything, ping Will, me, tweet at us, tag us, whatever, and we can, put in the list for the vote.
Totally, that's a great call. Awesome. Thanks, John, and thanks everybody.